Imagine this for a second. What if a government announced it had connected 8 out of every 10 homes to a water supply, but when you turned on the tap in those homes, nothing came out? Today, we're diving into what looks like an incredible success story, but might actually be a mirage. Let's get into it. This question right here, it cuts right to the chase. It really makes you think, what does success even mean when we're talking about something as basic as water? This is the puzzle we're going to solve today.
So first, let's start with the official story. And you have to admit, on paper, it looks like a huge win, a real triumph for the government and its big projects.
So, picture the date, November 16th, 2025. There's this big announcement. The government is celebrating a massive milestone for its main water program, the Jal Jeevan Mission. They're calling it a historic lifeline for people in rural areas.
And here's the number that was everywhere, a jaw-dropping 82%. That's how many rural homes in the state they said now had tap water connections. I mean, that's way higher than the national average. It sounds like a total game changer.
And this timeline, wow, it really shows you just how massive that achievement seems. I mean, look at this. Back in 2019, you had less than 1% of rural homes with a tap. Then they pump a ton of money into it and boom, a few years later, it skyrockets to over 82%. It really seems like a clear, undeniable success story, right?
Well, at the very same time all these celebrations were going on, a completely different story was playing out for the people on the ground.
So get this, a report from the Shillong Times comes out, and it says this one village, Nongdrong, is having a really bad water shortage. No water at all. So this isn't a story about success, it's about a daily struggle, and it's happening at the exact moment the mission is being celebrated.
And when people started asking questions, the government's own defense was, well, it was pretty telling. They basically said, hey, the reason there's no water is because the projects are still ongoing. Think about that for a second. This is a huge piece of the puzzle. The pipes are there, but the water isn't.
So, this is the big question we need to answer in this explainer. How is that even possible? How can you have these two totally opposite things happening at once, an 82% connection rate being celebrated and villages with bone-dry taps?
Well, the answer, as it so often is in the numbers. Or, to be more precise, it's all about what you decide to count. This is a classic example of how stats can paint a picture that doesn't really match what's happening in the real world. Let's break it down.
Okay, so the official goal of this whole mission isn't just to install a tap. It's to provide what's called a functional household tap connection, or FHTC. And the rules are super specific. It means you get 55 liters of good quality water for each person every single day. That's what success is supposed to look like.
Okay, this slide right here is the aha moment. It just lays it all out so clearly. On the left, you've got what's actually being measured to claim success, the raw number of taps they've installed. It's about building stuff. But look at the right. That's what should be measured, according to the mission's own goals. The actual water coming out of the tap. It's about providing a service. That 82% number? It's all about the left column. The right column? Well, that's still a big question mark.
And this isn't some new phenomenon. There's actually a term for this. An academic named James C. Scott calls it legibility. It's this whole idea that governments love simple, easy-to-count numbers, like how many taps are installed, because it makes a messy, complex situation look neat and tidy. It makes it legible, and that lets them claim success, even if the real problem, the lack of water, hasn't actually been solved.
So, we get the how this is happening. But now for the big one, the so what. Why does this difference between just installing pipes and actually delivering water matter so much? Because here's the impact in the real world. The whole system is set up to pay contractors to hit targets for installing pipes. They get their money for putting pipes in the ground. But the water source that's supposed to feed those pipes, maybe it only has water for part of the year, or maybe it isn't even connected yet. So what happens? The government gets to check a box and claim success on paper, but people are left with a tap that gives them zero water. It's a connection in name only.
Look, this isn't just about what's happening in one state. It's really a question we should all be asking about accountability. And you can actually investigate this yourself, in your own community. First, just ask around. For anyone who has one of these new taps, ask them, so how often do you actually get water from it? Second, you can file a Right to Information request, an RTI, and ask for a list of projects they call 100% complete. Then just go visit one of those villages. See for yourself. Is the water actually flowing?
And that really brings us to the final thought here. This whole thing boils down to one simple, but really powerful question. When we as a country spend all this money on a water mission, what are we actually paying for? Is the goal just the illusion of progress you can put on a chart? Or is it the reality of someone being able to get a clean glass of water from their own tap? It's something to think about. Thanks for joining me.